You know that feeling when you try to retell a story, but the words just get twisted? It happens to all of us. But here's the thing. There's a kind of secret code that fluent speakers use to share conversations perfectly. And today, we're going to crack it. Welcome to The Explainer.
Okay, so let's start with something simple. Imagine a friend sends you this exact message. I'll call you. Straightforward, right? But later that day, when you're telling your roommate about it, the sentence, well, it changes. It morphs into this. The meaning is exactly the same, but the words themselves have shifted.
So what just happened? I will somehow became he would, you turned into me. How does that work? Well, I promise you, it's not random. It's a system, a code, and we are about to figure it out.
All right, let's dive right in. What we're really talking about here is a huge part of everyday communication. It's called reported speech, and it's basically the secret code we all use to pass information from one person to the next.
So at its heart, reported speech, you might also hear it called indirect speech, is just how we tell someone what another person said without using their exact word-for-word quote. Think of it less like hitting record on a device and more like you're retelling a story.
Now, to really master this code, you only need to understand one golden rule. And it's actually pretty cool. Think of it like this. When you report something that was said in the past, the verb in that sentence has to do a little bit of time travel.
Just look at this example. Someone says, I am tired. Okay, simple enough. But when you report it later, that verb am has to take one step back in time. It becomes was. He said he was tired. See that? A simple jump into the past. And this chart, this right here, lays out the whole system. As long as you're reporting what someone said in the past, using a phrase like she said or they told me, the original verb just takes one step back. So present simple becomes past simple. Present continuous becomes past continuous. And get this, even past simple takes another step back, all the way to past perfect. It works for those little helper verbs too. Will becomes would, can becomes could. It's a really consistent pattern once you see it.
But hold on, it's not just the verbs that are on the move. The entire sentence has to shift its perspective to make sense. Of course, pronouns like I are going to change to he or she. Words like my will become his or her, and you even have to adjust for time and place. So today becomes that day, and here becomes there. It's all about retelling the story from your point of view.
Okay, time for you to be the code breaker. How would you report this sentence? I am going to the cinema. Go on, take a second. Think about that pronoun and the verb tense. You got it? He said he was going to the cinema. That present continuous just takes one step back to past continuous. See? You're getting this.
All right, so we've pretty much got statements down. But what happens when you need to report a question? Don't worry, the code has a few really clever rules for those too.
It's a pretty simple three-step process. First, you'll introduce the question using the word if or the original question word itself. Now, step 2 is super important. You have to change the word order from a question back into a normal statement. And finally, step 3 is our old friend, the backshift. You just move that verb one step into the past, exactly like we did before.
Let's see this in action. It makes it so much clearer. Are you hungry becomes he asked if I was hungry. Notice how the word order flipped from are you to I was? Same thing for this next one. Where is the station? Becomes she asked where the station was. The verb is moves to the end of the clause and back shifts to was. Easy.
So, you ready for the advanced level? Because every good code has its exceptions. And honestly, knowing when to break that time travel rule is what will make you sound truly natural. First up, we're talking about universal truths. So, if someone states a fact that is always true, things from science or just undisputed facts, the verb actually stays in the present tense. It just wouldn't make sense to push a permanent truth into the past, would it?
For example, someone says the Earth is round. When you report this, it stays exactly the same. He said the Earth is round. The planet didn't suddenly stop being round yesterday, so the verb doesn't change. Simple as that.
And that same logic applies to things that are still true for the person right now. Let's say your colleague tells you, I have a headache, and you can clearly see they're still in pain. Well, you can just say he said he has a headache. There's no need for time travel if the situation hasn't changed.
This next one is really intuitive. If your reporting verb is in the present tense, like if you say he says instead of he said, then no time has really passed.
There's no past to travel back to, so, you guessed it, the verb tense doesn't change at all.
And finally, some words are just immune to time travel. These helper verbs, or modals, like would, could, and should, are already in a sort of past or hypothetical state. They can't really go any further back, so they just stay put.
So if the original sentence is, I would help, the reported version is simply, he said he would help. It's nice and easy, no change needed whatsoever.
So there you have it. As you can see, reported speech isn't just some boring set of grammar rules. It's the engine of storytelling. It's how we share our experiences, how we pass on news, and how we connect with each other. You've cracked the code now, from the golden rule of verb time travel all the way to those clever little exceptions. The only question left is, what story will you tell?